Points on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Andrew Goldman, and joining us on the YSN hotline, the president, the man in charge of Youngstown Phantoms hockey. He is the president of the Youngstown Phantoms. He is Andrew Goldman. Andrew, how are you today?
I am doing just fine, Ron. Always great to catch up with you, so making it a better day.
Absolutely, and in fairness, we need to say this because your phone may cut out at any time because you're on the dreaded Pennsylvania Turnpike, and they have more dead spots than any turnpike or any road that I've ever been on. So hopefully we'll be able to keep you during the entire conversation. If not, we'll take a timeout and then reestablish connection. Andrew, obviously the 2019-2020 season, disappointing in that the season did not have a finale. COVID-19 proved to be the finale for a lot of sports, including the United States Hockey League, and a darn shame. But update everyone on the off-season right now at Cavelli Center and in Youngstown with the organization.
Yeah, your timing is good for this call. We just recently, and when I say recently, I mean Thursday and Friday, had our annual or semi-annual Board of Governors meetings. Like everything else these days, it was on Zoom instead of in person. And obviously, COVID-19 and what that means for next season was a big topic of conversation. And I'm not gonna share anything groundbreaking. I think as everybody has seen over the last 120 days or so, things change by the day. And I think everybody's aware of that, but part of, right? The focus was on player safety, the safety of our staff and hockey operations folks, and of course, fan safety. And to that end, there's a lot of moving targets. But we have our main camp scheduled just outside of Pittsburgh. Couple days of July and the first couple days of August. As of right now, everything is a go with that, which is fantastic. That camp, Ron, will essentially determine who we bring into Youngstown in early September to finalize our roster for the upcoming season.
Andrew Goldman.
Go ahead, sorry, Ron.
I'm sorry. You can finish your thought, Andrew, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and that leads into your question about season, and essentially what that means is the Fall Classic in Pittsburgh is scheduled for the last weekend of September. Currently, all 16 USHL teams prepare to play 2 games there. That is currently on track to occur, and then we roll into a 62 game schedule thereafter. Clearly, we have contingency plans, but our hope is to do what we need to do and to work with the local health officials to allow us to have a full season next year.
Andrew Goldman, president of the Youngstown Phantoms, joining us on the YSN hotline. Andrew, I know Major League Baseball had a breakout in both Florida and Arizona, and it forced Major League Baseball not only to close down all of the spring training sites, but to have every single site, quote, deep cleaned. Obviously, with kids coming in Cranberry, which is the gorgeous setup that you guys have just outside of Pittsburgh, that site, that facility, the facility in Pittsburgh and the Cavelli Center, are you guys going to be, quote, deep cleaning those facilities prior to training camp and prior to the start of the USHL season?
Yeah, and again, I think all of those things continue to evolve in terms of information coming out daily as to the best way to protect the players. Every effort will be made to buy the Phantoms, to keep, what are 16 to 20-year-olds, right, in the USHL, right? So young men, as safe as we possibly can be. And that's, taking temperatures before anybody is walking in the building, and certainly making sure that we're cleaning in a way that is different than it was before, even though that was a major focus, prior to any of this happening. And we're certainly going to work with the folks at JAC Management and Cavelli Center to make sure that they're doing the same from a building perspective. And I think the fact that the professional sports have not yet been able to figure out a way to sort of pull the trigger on making this a go, just lets us know how challenging this is.
This has been a crazy couple months for sports. And as a team president, I'm wondering what your kind of day-to-day work has been throughout these last couple months, and how it's kind of been so drastically different than what your normal routine would be.
It's a great question, and it certainly has been drastically different, right? The silver lining to this for me, as somebody who lives outside of DC and spends a tremendous amount of time away from my family in Youngstown. I've gotten to work from home mostly, which has been nice. But like everything else, we've had to cut staff to some degree. So from a role and responsibility perspective, for me, it's meant wearing, numerous hats. And we've been working with our sponsors who, we're trying to help get through this time as best we can. We've been in constant contact with our season ticket holders, fans, social media engagement. We've done training videos so that, people can stay active even while gyms and things of that nature are closed. And then, going back to the previous conversation, there's been a tremendous amount of time focused on what next season looks like, what are going to be the challenges, both as they relate to, what our game environment looks and feels like, what player safety looks and feels like, and how we adjust, revenue and expense forecasting, given the uncertainty of the answers to the previous questions.
President Andrew Goldman of the Youngstown Phantoms joining us on the YSN hotline. COVID-19 aside, Andrew, I've been to the Cavelli Center more than a handful of times to watch Phantoms hockey. For those that have never seen Phantoms hockey, let me just say right now, it's a solid brand of hockey. And I'll go so far as to say we have built up quite an NHL alumni. This brand of hockey is definitely a stepping stone into the minor leagues and the upper minor leagues of hockey. And as I mentioned, a number of kids that played for the Phantoms have jumped on and gone into the National Hockey League. It's a solid product that you have, Andrew.
Yeah, I think I shouldn't say I think. It's the best junior hockey league in the United States. It is literally the best of the best for anybody who wants to play college hockey. So at a minimum, our players will go on to play major Division I college hockey. And as you said, we are working on quite the list of both NHL and American Hockey League alumni. Actually had the pleasure of having lunch with Sam Annis, who was with Youngstown for 2 years, who just literally, their season was cut short, but just led the American Hockey League in goals this past year. And I think we'll likely get a shot at the NHL next year, and it's really exciting. Kyle Connor is an NHL All-Star, spent 3 years in Youngstown, I believe, and the list goes on and on. So Anybody who doesn't understand, I'm trying to think of another sport comparison, because hockey's a little bit different. But you think about Ohio State football, and if those kids went somewhere for a year or 2 or 3 years before they went to play for Ohio State, the Youngstown Phantoms and or another USHL team would be the equivalent.
We've talked about it before on the show. Hockey is a sport that if you don't watch live, you can't really get the full experience of it. What kind of things do you take pride in that Phantoms do in a live, in your live games, and the experience that you bring to the fans in a normal circumstance, of course?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things. So this was my second year with the Phantoms, and one of the things that we really took a hard look at was exactly that. It's the fan experience, it's the engagement, and the hockey speaks for itself. There's nothing we needed to do to change the quality of hockey, but what we did want to do was to create the whole sort of entertainment experience. So whether that was intermissions, whether that was engagement with players before, not before so much, after games, whether that was timeout games, locker room tours, things of that nature that really sort of gave people an opportunity to have an all-around experience, incredibly affordable, and really sort of allowed for people to understand exactly what you said, which is hockey live is as exciting as anything. And for people who don't really sort of follow hockey a lot, getting that sense on TV is sometimes difficult. So, it's been great, and the connection to YSU this year was fantastic as well. We did some things on Saturday nights, which were focused on YSU students to some degree, and it was really successful. So having that interaction this year was a blast, and certainly hopeful that we'll be back in a place where we can do more of it this upcoming season.
Never too early to talk promotions, and I know you guys had some of your promotions halted due to COVID-19. Andrew, if you guys have some promotions that are already locked in for 2020-2021, now's the time to talk. The upcoming promotions in the upcoming USHL season at Cavelli.
Yeah, so I would say nothing's locked in just based on the way the season ended. But I'm hopeful certainly that we'll be able to duplicate the consistent messaging that we had last year. Friday nights was really aimed at families. It was family fun night. We did a $5 ticket for kids 12 and under, which included a free popcorn, a free Pepsi, and a free cotton candy. So can't get much better value than that. And then Saturday nights we flipped the script a little bit, and it was $1 hot dogs and $1 beers, and made for a really really enjoyable weekend of hockey. Our attendance was up almost 46%. Year over year, last year versus the year before. So people were definitely getting the message, and the weekend that was canceled, the last weekend, or the first weekend of the season that was canceled, we were really teed up to have our best weekend in the 2 years that I was there. So we're excited that the messaging is getting across. We're excited about the product that we're putting on the ice, and really, really are looking forward to getting back out there.
First, let me say, I'm sure the parents loved free cotton candy, giving their kids that are 12 and under just pure sugar. That was probably amazing.
It's got a mixed bag, but by and large, I will say this: the parents were allowing the kids to get that cotton candy. So, hopefully they burned off the sugar rush while they were in the building.
What are your hockey roots in your life, and what drew you to kind of being where you are now?
It's funny. I definitely did not take a traditional path to sort of my role. I was a commercial real estate developer for many years, and always passionate about the game of hockey. My father's cousin actually brought the Washington Capitals to Washington D.C., the NHL team, and owned them until, I'm going to guess, maybe sometime in early 2000s. So I grew up around the game, but Washington was not a place where youth hockey was a big deal. And I didn't grow up playing any kind of serious hockey. But I stayed engaged. I played club hockey in college and played adult after that. And then I have a son who was born in 2003, who has been completely involved in the game at a high level. And through those relationships, I became friendly with the current managing partner, I should say, of the Phantoms. And through that relationship, he asked me to come in and take this role, and it's been a fantastic 2 years. So, again, my job is more on the business side, less on the hockey side. Brad Patterson is our general manager and head coach, and he handles the hockey operations side of the equation. So it makes for a really good team.
Andrew, before we let you go, the ice, normally it gets melted before the summertime, and you spend the summer with the Cavelli Center basically ice-free. When do you guys expect to lay down the ice? And talk a little bit about, I don't know, maybe a possibility of kids or adults having a skate after home games.
Yeah, so the first question is the expectation, and it would follow our traditional path, is that players will report Labor Day weekend, and the ice will go down somewhere. I said Memorial Day weekend. Labor Day weekend. The ice will go down sometime between Labor Day weekend and sort of the second week of September. That's the traditional schedule. In terms of post-game skates, I think we did 4 or 5 last year, Ron. It's something that we absolutely look forward to. We do post-game skates. We do autograph sessions after games. As I said, we do locker room tours. I'll be honest, those are going to be, some of the last things that come back, just given the environment that we're in. So I think that's unfortunately a little bit in the wait and see mode. Just getting back to the health of players and fans and sort of understanding the realities of social distancing.
Thinking outside the box, and the thought just occurred to me, I know that figure skating is not on the minds of a lot of people, but there is a niche in figure skating, and well, let's be honest, the Cavelli Center holds about 5,000 or 6,000. Has there been any talk of a possibility of not having the Nationals here, but having something leading up to the Nationals being held at the Cavelli Center in Youngstown?
So the answer is I have not heard of anything. Probably more of a Eric and Jordan Ryan question than an Andrew Goldman question, but I think it would be, obviously we have the ice. They've taken advantage of having the ice with, Disney on Ice shows and things of that nature. So there's certainly no reason that couldn't happen if the, desire was there from both the building as well as, the folks who I'm not even sure what the National Figure Skating Organization is, but things of that nature. I think it would be really, really interesting. What I will say is that you're probably competing. I think those shows tend to draw north of 6,000, so we may have some size limitations there, but certainly not my area of expertise.
All right, you owe me a Zamboni ride or a Zamboni owner for a game, and I don't think I want to be in charge of doing the Zamboni. Lord knows your rink would get destroyed if I did that, but I would love to catch a ride and ride shotgun with the guy in charge of the Zamboni, and maybe have a live interview on YSN in the process.
Would love to do it, Ron. You again, as soon as we're allowed to do that, you are locked and loaded. And I've also talked about taking Zamboni driving classes, and I've decided that that's probably got more downside than upside. So I haven't done it yet either.
Yeah, I think the walls of the Cavelli Center, the dashboards would be in serious jeopardy if I ran one of those bad boys. And Lord knows you don't want to pay for any damages of that nature. So I'll just ride shotgun and be happy with that.
There you go. You and me both.
Andrew, always a pleasure, and fingers crossed. I really hope that we can get some hockey at Cavelli Center. It's a fantastic venue. As I've mentioned a million times over, if you don't see hockey live, you're doing yourself a serious misjustice. It is the best sport to see live, hands down, not even close. And I have become a big-time hockey fan and absolutely love the Phantoms and the organization, and hopefully the attendance continues on an upward climb this year.
We always appreciate the support, Ron. Thank you, and happy to jump on and help anytime, and looking forward. Also have my fingers crossed and looking forward to a great season.
As we get closer to hockey season, we're going to get you on a weekly basis. All right, brother.
Looking forward to it.
Looking
forward to it.
Appreciate it.
If you need anything.
Safe journey, okay? Safe journey back to D.C. All right, Andrew Goldman, the president of the Youngstown Phantoms, joining us on YSNLive.com.